Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show.
So, Tim, one of the things I was fascinated when I read about you is your background is so diverse. I mean, I was from military to the private sector to what you're doing right now. Tell me a little bit about, when you look at your business, what got you into improving recruiting, improving HR, and making sure people are the focus, not just a strategy at the companies you work with?
Yeah, so my dad called me when he was in the military. He was a higher rank than me, and he said, "Hey, you should be in recruiting." I said, "That sounds horrible." And he said, "Hey, but if you are in recruiting, you can get stationed where I am in Indianapolis." And I was like, "Oh, that would be cool." Yeah. So I had never thought about recruiting. I joined as an engineer, deployed to Iraq, then went military intelligence. So I kind of just found my way in recruiting. When I separated, why I'm so passionate about it, I had problems finding a job. And here I was Soldier of the Year, had all these accolades and honor grad, all these things, had my degree from Purdue. And I was like, why can't I find a job? When I learned, so it was a very depressing, frustrating time for me for 9 months where I struggled. Because what I learned now, many years later, is getting a job has really nothing to do with your background. You have to follow a process. It's the most confusing thing that I help professionals with is they're really great at sales. They're really great at marketing. They're a really great operator. When it's a job search, you need to be branded effectively. You need to know how to get in front of people. You need to tell them why they should hire you. And you need to know how to talk about money. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to struggle. And that's why I struggled. Because again, being great at what I did, that helps, but really it's like I didn't have the skills needed to get a job. So I did what most people do, applied for jobs online, crossed my fingers and hoped someone would call me back.
No, I mean, your background lends to confidence. I mean, all the things you've achieved in your life led to confidence going, well, I should be able to get a job pretty naturally with all my background, my credentials.
Yes.
In fact, you went to Purdue. Funny story, my son went to Purdue, so I'll share that with you later. But going on with what you were saying, so you realized to build a better mousetrap, it wasn't your credentials, it's how you present yourself is a big factor.
Absolutely. It's the process. So I didn't learn that. Fortunately, I got picked up by a recruitment company to manage operations in Indianapolis. And when I did that, I learned everything I was doing wrong. I was like, man. So then I went to work for a Fortune 500 company, and then I became an entrepreneur. But it's just through, school of hard knocks where I learned, this is how you have to present yourself. This is how you bypass these online applications, which now after COVID, hundreds of people apply to every single job. So it's very difficult. So that's what we've committed to do, and we've helped a lot of people. So I always tell people it has, it's nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the process that you're following.
It's really good advice. And you think about it, you had to learn that as well in your military career. I mean, you had to go through an adaptation on a constant basis to get to a point where it wasn't necessarily what you were originally thought you should do. It's what people told you, here's the real world, here's what you're going to have to do. And it varies. It's not always going to be the same as you might think would out of a book. So with your clients that you work with, what problems do you solve besides them getting hired? Let's talk about the bigger picture, the companies you work with, on employee retention and other things. Tell me what you do for your companies that you work with.
So what we do, and I have a new book coming out called Becoming Mission Ready, and it's exactly that. Because here's why. You can have great people. That's 1/10 the component to really having a successful company. Like, of course you need great people, but then you know that who's leading the great people. You need to have a great leader. That's one of my favorite Jocko Willink books is, Extreme Ownership, where he says there's no bad teams, only bad leaders inside the chapter. So it's like you need so many components. So in my book, Becoming Mission Ready, I talk about just what we did in the military, right? Like how can we make sure that we attract the right people, but after we attract them, we have the right mission, the right plan, the right resources, the right contingency plan, the right training, And that's where a lot of companies struggle. It's like they think they need great people, and don't get me wrong, they do. But then there's so many more aspects to that to become mission ready to essentially go out to battle.
You think about it, and the other correlation is in sports. How many people bring in all these great players, but they're not a team?
Yep.
And what happens is you may think on paper you've got everything won. We're going to win the NBA championship, baseball, whatever it may be. And you're not ready, and a contingency, a guy gets injured. Now what do? I didn't have enough backup in the bench. So correlations in life to me are always fascinating, and I like them a lot. So when you think about when you have a company who agrees to work with you and contract with you, where do you start in that process to try and make them better from a personnel recruiting point of view? Where's the foundation?
Yeah, it's actually quite comical, Dennis. Because I say they want to always hire great people, right? And I say, number one, very much like the job search and the job seekers that I help, I say, what is your hiring process? And they typically do not have one. I said, where is your written, documented hiring process? And I'm in a CEO advisory group right now in Nashville with 15 other CEOs, great guys. $95 million manufacturing company, $80 million t-shirt company, $70 million commercial roofing company. Their strategy is we post things on LinkedIn, right? And then we ask them questions. And that's the biggest thing is people use emotion. They interview you, Dennis, and they say, oh yeah, Dennis is a great guy. But they don't have a process to follow. So we have a structured process of like, these are the different steps we use to make a decision. And most people don't have that. So number one, they're going to struggle then. And I treat our organization, why we've been so successful, like a military operation. The heads of my departments will come to me. Hey, we want to hire Dennis. Yeah. And I'm like, tell me about his background, right? Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. I tell our team, hey, we are going to battle. We're going to battle. Is Dennis coming with us? And they'll be like, well, Tim, since you said that, no, I don't think so, And people don't hire that way. And think about it. Say you're going out on a complex mission to the military. And if you get shot, the person you're hiring has to patch you up, return fire, call for help, and most people don't do that. So exactly. So they're struggling because they don't have a detailed process that they're sticking to. Is probably the biggest mistake we make where we have to do that. But then number two, a short one, is I figured out once I solved that problem for companies, there was the next problem. You need to, and I learned this from my mentor, Brandon Dawson, you need to culturally, financially, and operationally integrate these people into the company. And most people have a pretty crappy onboarding program. So here you go. You want these great elite special forces NBA players, and then you want to bring them into something you haven't updated in 5 years. Oh, we don't use that anymore. We don't do that. And that's their first. So it's that's their first
People
week.
remember their first day, their first week, and their first month on the job more than any other component. And the reason they stay versus leave many times is chaotic behavior by the people that they went to work for. They were great in the interview, great in high, here's what you're going to get. And they get there and they go, okay, here's your cards, there's your login, there's the door. Let me know when you get some business. Have a great day. And that's not what this is all about. So I love the fact you got really specific detail.
Yeah.
And then, so how is it that they absorb that and realize, oh my gosh, I've been doing everything kind of the wrong way. I've got to change. How are they adapting to change when you come in and say, whoa, you got to put the brakes on what you're doing. Now we have to look ahead at what we can do to make this better. How do you do that?
Very lightly. Because people are very critical, even though they know they're messing up. Humans, you know what I mean? Most people, not most people, I mean, not generalized, but there's a lot of people that sometimes don't take criticism very well. So you have to do it in a very, delicate way. So for instance, as we're partnering with these organizations, we say, hey, do you think it would be more beneficial if we had a structured process that everyone followed, right, from a recruitment aspect? Oh, yeah. Do you think that would help you? So really, it's like number one is just, before we even put anything together, just getting the buy-in from them, because change, even positive change, is very difficult to implement, right? So we want to make sure we do that very delicately.
people not only reluctantly change, but they don't desire it because that means that they may have made a mistake. And
Yes.
semantics are so critical versus, hey, here's where you need, I see some issues and some concerns versus, now, if you could improve this, how would you improve it? And all of a sudden they have an answer. But if you're getting critical with your commentary and your words, semantically, they resist. So I'm glad you got a really unique approach. I like that. So I'm going to go after a client, ABC, and it's a big company in your area. How do you, number one, source for who you want to meet with at that organization? 2, get the audience. And 3, what's the reason why they should work with you?
Yeah. So the only reason you should ever work with anyone is they have a track record of success of exactly what you need to do. So if I have a fitness coach, he's in shape. If I have a finance guy or gal, they got their money right. If I got a new nutritionist, I want them. So I want to work with someone who has a track record of success. So good news is we have so many accolades on the internet. We've been featured so many places, won so many different awards. So I know track record of success. We want to, fortunately, we have a B2C and a B2B component. We help 10 to 25 directors, VPs, and executives every single week land new opportunities. Strangely enough, they're the corporate decision makers. So we stay with them and then ultimately help them inside their business unit. Besides that, how do we generate leads? As Grant Cardone would say, hey, every day. Hey, you gotta show up. You gotta be known. We create content online. We spend a lot. Any marketing channel you could possibly think of, we do. We build an email list. We're on every social network. I produce content daily. We advertise
how do you
on.
distribute that? Do you do it on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube?
Yes, we use an
all the
agency.
above?
Yeah, we use an agency. We have a content-driven, multifaceted, multi-layered. We have an ads company that runs all of our ads, online digital advertising. Then we have a content agency who helps us curate content by platform. I shoot that a couple days per month, and then they chop it up and then they distribute it. We sponsor events. We basically do anything you can just to get known in our market because it's a busy world out there. A lot of people don't know. There's 30 million businesses in America. So if you think you're going to put out a sign or knock on one door or make one cold call, right, you're severely underestimating, what it takes to get known.
Well, on that path, staying in what it takes to get known, obviously you are the leader and you've got a group underneath you. How many people do you have that work for you who try and sell your product? Or is it not just you? I imagine you have some people that are...
Our sales team is 19 total. And then we have a sales leadership team of another 4 or 5 people that have different roles for that. So a decent sized sales organization.
So that sales organization, you then have leads come in from any methodology that you may have used marketing-wise.
Yep.
And their job is to convert those into opportunities. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
All right. And so when do they bring you in? Is that only for the closing, or are they capable to do it on their own? Do they tee you up and you swing the club? How does it work in securing your client?
The sales team predominantly handles most of it. I'll get involved when it's a referral of a good friend or of a client we helped that I helped, et cetera. So I get involved when it's like kind of that situation. But primarily the sales organization handles most of it.
Good. So you've got them developed to the point where they're comfortable with their product. What about competition? Who do you guys run into out there? Is there anyone who does the combination that you provide, in your opinion, that's out there in the same market?
Yeah. The good news is we're fortunate to be in the professional services space we're in because even the Fortune 500 players, even Korn Ferry, which does $4 billion, they have like 3% of the market share. So the good news is we are in, we aren't competing with Apple who has 63% market share. We're competing with these Fortune 500 companies. And even though they do billions and billions and billions of dollars, the market is pretty big. So it's pretty, when you have new individuals come in with new concepts, leveraging AI, new ways to do things, it's very attractive. So it's actually not that difficult. It is and it isn't. It's not that difficult to, if you have a process that you're following and your competitive advantage and why you're uniquely positioned and different, it's very easy to obtain market share as long as you have marketing and sales dialed in.
I think the key thing is that you believe in what you do. More importantly, your people do. And then when you look at it, competition, John Wooden used to say, I never bother to tell my team at UCLA, here's what they're going to do. Just do what you do better every single day, every single game, every single play. You're going to win more than you lose. But if I have to worry about what they're doing, then we're behind the 8 ball. So I love that philosophy. I was fortunate enough to play college basketball, so I enjoyed that. Tell me a bit about the selling cycle from contact to fruition when you gain a client. What are we looking at?
So we have 2 components. We have a B2C component where an executive will actually pay us, right? And we will essentially do their executive search for them. Meaning we will brand them, we will update their documents, we will get them on interviews, we will prep them for every single interview, and when their offer comes in, we will help them negotiate it. So that is our B2C core offering. Okay. Right? So essentially a done-for-you executive search. Right. So that's one component. Those leads come right through digital advertising. The sales cycle is they go right to someone's calendar from online. The salesperson has a call with them, and they either choose to move forward or they don't. And we have statistical data saying our follow-up sequence within 14 days, if they don't become a client, they have less than a 3% chance, right? Just based on everyone we've helped. So we know statistically, right, we have 14 days from when the salesperson spoke to them. The B2B side, completely different, as you can imagine. It depends on the organization. If it's a small company, sometimes you're meeting right with the CEO or the CFO, right? And then sometimes if it's an enterprise, you know, it could be 12 to 18 months, or this is when the next RFP is due in October 2027, you know? So it just really depends on, you know, is it a B2C core offer or is it the B2B offer?
3 of the worst words in the English language are letters, RFP, right?
Yeah. Well, it's all who you know, too. There's an RFP process, but come on, you know? Yeah. If you have a friend, if you can build a relationship, if you can build an alliance, regardless of your price and service, what do you know? You might just win the RFP.
Yep, exactly. So when you look at, you know, the things that you do right now, what is the challenges you see ahead for your company in 2026 and beyond that you guys are addressing to keep your business continuing to expand?
Yeah, great question. So from a revenue standpoint right now, we'll do 15 to 17 million this year. Wonderful. So the only challenge is, the good news is we have really good cash flow right now. So we're in just a phenomenal position. So where we need our priorities are, we need to expand these B2B offerings a little bit. We're helping our B2C market tremendously. We're helping so many people, but we're looking to expand our B2B markets. So head of outplacement, head of recruiting, head of leadership and development. So we're looking for potentially 3 key hires. And then we need an executive staff. We're approaching $20 million. So that's when you need a true CRO overseeing strategy, right? Mm-hmm. You need a CMO. We have a great advertising company, a great marketing team. But when you're spending a lot of money online, you obviously want someone who has a track record of success doing that. And then ultimately, we need a COO. So the good news is we have so many things, so much opportunity right now. It's kind of, hey, where's the biggest opportunity? Growing these lines of business, tremendous opportunity. Getting a CMO in, tremendous opportunity. Getting this person in. So it's kind of like just strategizing around where do we take action right now. The good news is I've invested heavily, and I think it's the only reason I've obtained success after the military is I have had so many different coaches, mentors, consultants. Primarily mine have been many, but Grant Cardone and Brandon Dawson. I've learned tremendously. Names, right? Yeah, I've been through all of Brandon Dawson's programs, his upper ones. He's taught me so much about business, leadership, people, scaling, etc. And I've realized that there's just so much to learn. So it's been really beneficial working with a consultant group in some capacities as we continue to scale, just to say, don't make that mistake, do this. Don't do that yet, do this. Yeah.
You don't want to live through that one, exactly. So when you think about, you look at how you get yourself out there, there's obviously only one Tim. I mean, unless I'm aware somewhere else, cloning is not legal, so you can't replicate yourself. So with that being said, how do you get your skill set in front of people that you want to get to in the B2B or B2C channel, have you looked at, or I think, if I read, you've done some podcasting, is that correct?
Yeah, so we did a podcast. Actually, we did 370 episodes. It was called the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. Then halfway through, we changed the name. We crushed it. We delivered so much content on the podcast of how to get a job, etc. Then as people continue to evolve and business evolves, I said, hey, this primarily was a job search thing. I've delivered. I was like, hey, this is a gift for everyone in the job search space to go there. We are launching a new podcast that is more general about business, hiring, and teams, as opposed to here's how you get a job. So we've already done one successfully. It was watched in 64 countries, had a lot of different traction, but we are launching one more, in probably the next 30 or 60 days of.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So how did you go about deciding how to do your new podcast?
Good question. We're still developing the name, right? But it's all what you want to be known for. So we're like, what angle do we want to take? We know we want it to be around hiring and teams, right? Obviously.
Okay.
But, what specific component do we want to tackle?
Yeah, I mean, that's where any podcast, the dilemma is, what is it, the message you want to get and give it to the audience so it's clever. So one of the things that, I want to bring up to you is I want to chat with you about when you did your podcast before, 64 different countries, all the episodes. How did that give you a return on your investment from a business point of view?
Yeah, so we track everything here. So we had a link.
Seems like it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have dashboards and tracker for everything. Well, you got to measure it in business. You have to know, right? So for us, we had a specific link that we'd give off on the podcast. Hey, if you're interested in learning more of how we could help you in your career, go to execupgrades.com/podcast. So obviously, every single person that came through there, and we did get a return on investment. But I've kind of changed a little bit. Executive Career Upgrades, when we first started, we would just help people in their career. But as we continue to evolve and try to reach that 9-figure range, I do know that we need to we need to do more with recruiting, do more with onboarding, do more with leadership and development with these organizations. When predominantly for the last couple of years, we have just helped directors, VPs, and executives land jobs as opposed to helping corporate America. So in the past years, when we started helping corporate America with outplacement services, with leadership and development, with a couple big companies, and with recruiting services.
Are your podcasts going to be more targeted toward the prospect of corporate America?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it would make sense because you've already got the other one in your pocket.
Yep.
Okay. So as you look at your challenges ahead with leadership and everything else you're doing, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I mean, you lay out your plan. I talk to a lot of people. You're one of the most organized, systematic type people I've talked to in quite some time. And when you look at it in the disc, you'd be more like the C, but you also have so many of the D elements in you. It's unbelievable. And so, you really have a good blend. The ideal blend would be a senior leader. And I mean that complimentary wise. And so as you look at what your target is ahead, you think about you want to grow it in the corporate space. How do you, besides potentially, you continue your marketing method, what would your podcast be able to do that might help in the corporate space? What do you think?
Just another client acquisition channel.
Okay.
You need to do them all. Cold calling is not dead. Cold emailing is not dead. Going to networking events is still not a waste of time. Running ads is, you need to do everything. You need to get known. So a podcast is just another channel that you can do, which later you can chop up content and multiply it. So you always want to be able to multiply your efforts. So it's really just another client acquisition channel, right? But I would say, I think I'm doing pretty well in business too, but I would say that I am not a normal entrepreneur. I was very fortunate to spend 22 years in the military. I was an officer, so I learned a lot. I went to, some people don't really care about education, and that's fine. I got a leadership degree from Purdue. I got an MBA from a top school, and I've invested heavily with working with some of the top people in business. So, I treat the business very, this is very serious. And I don't know if a lot of people do. And that's where Brandon Dawson really helped me a lot, because he said, hey, look at all the people you have working for you. Do you want them to have better opportunities? Do you want them to provide better for your family? Do you want to? And I was like, yes, I do. Well, then get serious. So absolutely, I take this
Great advice.
very seriously.
All right, I'm going to share with you the story about my son in Purdue, then we'll wrap this up.
Okay.
He was a USA national baseball player when he was 15 years old and played for the U.S. travel and all the good stuff. Then he got injured his senior year in high school when he was an All-American. TCU had offered him a scholarship, but in college sports, unless you step day one on that campus, that scholarship is not going to happen. So when he got hurt, they pulled the offer. Purdue had been after him, really after him. And he didn't think of baseball in Purdue. You don't think about that. So I said, it's a great school, son. You may want to look at it. So he goes back to West Lafayette. He's there and meets a girl from Carmel. Now, I thought, Carmel? I mean, you mean Carmel, right?
Indiana?
He goes, Carmel. He goes, Dad, she was pretty special. I said, well, Derek, you're just being recruited. You're not going to go there. Well, she's going to be coming in the same time I am. I said, all right, go ahead if that's what you want to do. So he goes to Purdue, hits .555 in fall ball, going to be starting first baseman. Comes back home, and we lived in San Diego. So comes back home, loved the weather. He goes, oh, it's so nice. It was so cold back there, man. It was 2013, one of the coldest winters they ever had. And he says, but I'm looking forward to going back because this girl and I really get along well. I have to play indoors in the football stadium. At the time, they had another facility that was tented over for indoor practice. And that's where the baseball team practiced. Third baseman, he's a first baseman. The third baseman throws the ball at him. He can't see it in the background, hits him right in the eye and fractures his eye. He has to sit out red shirt his freshman year. He goes, Dad, it was just too cold. He goes, the girl, forget it. I need to come back to warm weather. So he had one and done at Purdue, but he loved it. And I have been back there. It's a beautiful environment. That campus is special.
It is,
Anyway.
but man, I had to move I lived in Indiana. I was a recruiter in Indiana, but man, just too cloudy. And that's when I came down to Florida, I was like, man, I'm moving to Florida. So I
get it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. How do people find out about you, Tim? Where do they go?
They can go to execupgrades.com. Also, I am on every single social media platform at the Tim Madden on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find.
Wonderful. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you, Tim, for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.